Good morning, everybody. Okay, let's just sit quietly for a couple of minutes, let the mind settle, generate our motivation, and then we'll continue with the book. So let's have this awareness of all sentient beings wanting happiness and not suffering, and that being their deepest wish. And at the same time, all sentient beings being under the influence of afflictions and karma. So they mean well, they are what they want in life. It's totally understandable. But the afflictions get in the way, and they create karma that then brings more suffering. And then when they're unhappy, they get upset and angry and create more destructive karma. So this is a reason to have tolerance and compassion for others. It's not a reason to criticize and blame them. In fact, criticism and blaming just exacerbates the situation. So if we want society and people in it to be open-minded, we have to start with ourselves. And be able to hear diverse views. And just know that they are diverse views. That's it. We don't need to be afraid of them. And so let's generate an attitude of, like I said, tolerance and also compassion for living beings. And since we're one of those confused living beings, some patience for ourselves, but also because we're aware of the Dharma, let's also generate a determination to try and purify our mind and release the disturbing emotions and the incorrect views. And in that way, follow the path to full awakening so we can be of great benefit to others. So we're still working our way through an open-hearted life, trying to be open-hearted ourselves. And we're on chapter 43, identifying our feelings. So this is a chapter that I think both of us wrote. Both Russell and I wrote. Any case, it starts. Okay, so remember last time we talked about being able to describe a situation accurately without adding interpretations, projections, aspirations, or anything else to it. I'm just learning how to say what the bare facts of the situation were. So this is carrying on from it, okay? So emotions play a huge role in our lives, but it can be hard to know exactly what we're feeling at any given time. Yeah? True? Mm-hmm. Some of us may find it difficult to label and describe our emotions. There can be different reasons for this. It may be that we didn't learn how to name our feelings when we were young. Okay? Children learn how to identify and label their emotions through their interactions with their parents or early caregivers. But some of us grew up in homes and environments where our parents and caregivers weren't able to teach us these skills, perhaps because they themselves never learned how to identify and label their own feelings. And this was something that came up a lot, I would say 50, 60 years ago, when the younger generation who had grown up post-World War II was trying to communicate with their parents who grew up, pre-Depression. And they grew up, after what happened in the 19th century between the Civil War, the westward movement, the, jumping in your covered wagon and, traveling miles and miles in unknown territory to a home where you didn't know where it was going to be or what was going to happen. And so people in those situations, when they're dealing with very raw things of food, clothing, shelter, and medicine, the four requisites for life, they don't have time to sit and ponder their emotions. And what do I feel? And why do I feel this? And what happened in my childhood? And they're just trying to stay alive. Okay? So, you have all of that going on in the 19th century, and then giving rise to the generation that was born right around the time of World War I, or just after that, and around the time of the Depression. And again, they didn't have time to sit and think about their emotions. There was a depression. They didn't have food. They didn't have jobs. I mean, it wasn't a recession. It was an actual depression, And then came along World War II. People were shipped out of country. People came back with trauma. There was no word for it, battle trauma. And, again, they didn't have time to sit and think about their emotions or talk about their emotions or figure out why they felt the way they felt. Yeah, they just were trying to, again, and go through what was happening in society at that time. And then after the war, put their lives together and somehow try and have some peace. But then the Cold War started. Okay, so, now people have more time to talk about their emotions and think about these things and so on and so forth. But earlier generations didn't have that. And so if you grew up in a family that didn't have that, you're not going to learn how to identify your feelings either. So, people have a hard time talking about it. Yeah. And it's not a situation of blaming. It's just recognizing the different causes and conditions that people face in their life. And, and accepting people where they're at according to their own life experience. Okay. So identifying our feelings can be tricky because our emotions may change from one moment to the next. Oh, really? But when I feel something, I think it's permanent and it's lasting forever, and I've got to act on it immediately. Really? And then, of course, 2 minutes later, I have a different emotion, and that one's permanent, and I've got to act on that one too, because it's going to exist forever. So we have so little tolerance with unpleasant feelings, yeah, and that can bring some difficulties in our life. If every time there's an unpleasant feeling, we act on it, and we talk about it to this person and blame that or his person and attribute it to this, that, and the other thing. We're not going to have very much peace, and we're actually stirring more things up. Okay. Have you ever experienced how what we want is peace, but we stir things up when we get stirred up? Okay. So we can also experience a variety of different, sometimes conflicting emotions seemingly at one time. When faced with a threat or disappointment, for example, we may feel a combination of anger, anxiety, and even sadness that seem to happen all at once, making it difficult to distinguish between all of them. Yeah. Sometimes these different emotions motivate us in opposing ways, which can be confusing. For example, anger may motivate us to attack at the same time that fear motivates us to withdraw. And we find ourselves caught in the middle. What do I do? Okay. In some situations, such as when we start a new job or a relationship, we can feel excited and interested, as well as a bit scared and intimidated. Very different kinds of emotions. If we experienced only one emotion at a time, identifying them would be a lot easier, but often that's not how it works. Is it? Yeah. And so we get so confused because we're excited and then the next moment we're intimidated. So, yeah. So some of us have a hard time identifying our feelings because we think there are certain emotions we should or shouldn't experience. So this may be related to gender. Some men learn as children that it is acceptable to feel and express anger, but not emotions such as sadness and fear. Some women may have been taught that it is acceptable to express anxiety or sadness, but may have been punished for expressing anger. Of course, these gender stereotypes are just stereotypes and can be reversed. Some men are terrified of experiencing anger, while some women are comfortable with anger and are unwilling to express anxiety or sadness. So these are broad generalizations, but it can be useful to see if some of them apply to us. Okay? And that may help us also understand other people and how they were conditioned when they were brought up. Okay? And even within one family, you can see sometimes parents treat the boys and the girls differently. Yeah. And so that can also influence us. So there's a whole lot of influencing things. But the thing is to begin to understand ourselves. Yeah. We can make a lot of social commentary for a long time and blame society and other people for what we're feeling. But really, to be free, we have to work through these things ourselves. Yeah. And that's hard, and it takes time, and we make mistakes. And sometimes people get really irritated with us. And when we sit and think about it, we understand why they're irritated with us. Yeah? So instead of always holding the view that we're right, to acknowledge that sometimes what we're going through disturbs other people. Yeah? Their disturbance is their business. We can't control it. But we can, if we care for those people, modify what we say and how we say it. Yeah? Instead of just saying, well, you're my best friend, you need to put up with me no matter how I act or what I say. Yeah? And this is often what goes wrong in very close relationships, is people just start expecting their best friend, their spouse, whoever it is, their parents, their kids, to put up with everything without realizing that, when we get in certain moods, it affects other people, just as when they get in certain moods, it affects us. Yeah. And so beginning to care about that instead of just, pushing it all away. Okay, so often we think we're expressing our feelings when we're actually saying what we think. This is really interesting. For example, and think how many times you've said this. For example, we'll say, I feel like you don't care about me. Yeah? How often have we said things like that? I feel like my mother or father doesn't love me. I feel like my teachers don't care. I feel like, the boss is trying to deliberately make me look bad. I feel like the community isn't listening to me. I feel like, a sardine cramped in a place where everybody's judging me all the time. Yeah? How many times? It's very interesting to watch how we say, I feel like, or I feel that. When you say that, we're expressing an idea, a thought. We're not expressing a feeling. Others ignoring me is not a feeling. Others not paying attention to me when I need it is not a feeling. Others competing with me is not a feeling. These are thoughts about somebody else's motivation and somebody else's behavior. They are not emotions. Think about that. Because usually we express things, I feel like, and we say what somebody else is doing and the effect it has on us. I feel like you're blabbering all my secrets to other people. Blabbering all my secrets to other people is not an emotion. It's what I think somebody's doing and the motivation I'm attributing to them for doing that, because they're blabbering. In other words, they don't care. Yeah. So really stop and watch and listen, when you hear yourself say something like that. Okay, so for example, we'll say, I feel like you don't care about me. In fact, you don't care about me isn't a feeling. It's what I think the other person's attitude is. We think you don't care about me. We don't feel you don't care about me. We think it. Okay? So we're projecting an attitude on the other person. Yeah? And we're also sometimes projecting what we think their behavior is indicating. I feel like you don't care about me because you didn't fold the laundry. Yeah. The person didn't fold the laundry. Okay. What was their motivation? They didn't care about me. They deliberately didn't fold the laundry because they don't care. And then we take it and generalize it to our whole relationship with this person or our whole relationship with the world. They didn't fold the laundry. That means, and I feel like they don't care about me. They didn't fold the laundry. And in fact, not many people in this world do care about me. Yeah, my whole life I've been on my own. I haven't had the support I need my entire life. Yeah, my parents had 20 kids. Yeah, I was lost in the middle. They didn't have time to talk to me. Then I went to school. There were 40 kids in the classroom. My teachers didn't have time to talk to me. Yeah, nobody cares. My whole life is like this. And that's why, if you think I'm uncooperative, that's why. Yeah. We laugh, but this is exactly what we think and what we say, isn't it? Okay? But we think these are all feelings and emotions, and they aren't. They're stories we're making up. They're thoughts about things. Okay? We think you don't care about me. And then largely as a result of this thought, we may feel hurt, scared, or lonely. But to say, I feel hurt, and if you're a woman, it's okay. You can say, I feel hurt and cry. Yeah. And the men around just have to deal with it. But if you're a man and you feel hurt, no, doesn't bother me. Okay. What else might you feel? Scared. Okay, women can feel scared. Men may have fear, but men don't feel scared. Yeah? Okay. And who wants to say you're scared? Yeah, that makes you vulnerable, saying you're scared. So we don't say that. Hurt makes you also feel vulnerable. Lonely. You may feel lonely. Maybe I can say I'm lonely, but I'm only lonely because of other people. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind. I want to have friends. I'm really agreeable. I'm benevolent. Yeah, why am I lonely without a lot of friends? Because the people around me are just mean. They don't care. I feel like they're mean. Okay? It's useful to observe your speech and see if you notice any examples of this. For example, I feel like you're pushing me away. How often have we said that to other people? I feel like you're pushing me away. I feel like you're judging me. I feel like you don't accept me for what I am. Okay, are these feelings? No, they're all thoughts about what we think somebody else is thinking, or the motivation for how they're acting. Okay, I feel that you're trying to control me. Woo! What happens when you say that to somebody? Yeah. What happens when somebody says that to you? I feel like you're trying to control me. Yeah. I'm not trying to control you. Okay. When you say, I feel like you're trying to control me, what is the real feeling that's behind that? What are you actually feeling? Helpless. Helpless. Uncomfortable. Confused. Disconnected. Huh? What? Resentful. Yeah. So we have to identify what it is we're feeling instead of you're trying to control me. I feel like you're trying to control me. Yeah. So to identify what we're feeling and then ask ourselves why we're feeling that. And is that is that really what's happening in the situation? Is somebody really trying to control me? Or is that how I'm interpreting certain words and actions? Have I ever bothered to ask the other person? I never ask somebody, are you trying to control me? I accuse them. I make a statement, you're trying to control me. I never ask them if that's really what their motivation is and what they're trying to do. I just assume I know it already. Yeah, it's clear from their behavior. Yeah. Everybody would agree with me. They're trying to control me. Yeah. They think they're better than me. Yeah. I think, I feel like you're just so conceited and feel like you're better than me. So you don't listen to anything I have to say. Yeah. That's going to go a long way to resolving a conflict, isn't it? How's the other person going to respond? Yeah. Well, I feel like you're always projecting your stuff on me and everybody else. Yeah. When you hear yourself begin a sentence with I feel that or I feel like, pause and reflect. Are those actual feelings or are those thoughts or assumptions about what someone else is doing? Yeah, this is really a showstopper to stop and do this. Okay. Anything that can be made into a statement of what we believe the other person is doing is an interpretation. It's not what is actually happening. It is our interpretation. What we need to discover is what we are feeling. Chances are, when we think someone is pushing us away, we feel confused, scared, or lonely. When we think someone is trying to control us, we feel vulnerable, apprehensive, or insecure. When we think someone doesn't trust us, we feel hurt, offended, or indignant. Okay. When we think that someone is abandoning us, we feel fearful, alone, or uncertain. Okay. But we can't identify those feelings. We only can identify what we are projecting that the other person is their motivation or the reason for their action or the meaning of their action. We can see how easily our thoughts and interpretations about others' feelings or behavior can provoke threat-based emotions in ourselves, particularly when we take those thoughts to be true. So we have a thought, we assume it's true, then all kinds of emotions, like, many of them threat-based emotions, arise in our mind. Yeah? And we think we're seeing the situation as it is. We can get all worked up over situations we've created in our minds that have almost nothing to do with what is really happening. Really? Do you think you ever get worked up about things that you've created in your mind that have nothing to do with the reality around you? Never. Yeah? Never? Yeah. Only when it's pointed out. Huh? Only when it's pointed out. They're not pointing it out because I didn't do it. There's nothing to point out. They're accusing me of not being sensitive to them and to assuming too much. So that just validates how, nobody understands me and everybody's out to get me and nobody listens to me and I make a statement and they all doubt it and think I made it up, like I'm seeing Martians or something. Yeah. So I feel miserable. Where's my blankie? Yeah, I need my blankie. Oh, this will do. No, I can't use my precious robe as a blankie. That's not going to work. In communicating with others, there is a big difference between sharing our evaluation, analysis, or interpretation of a situation and saying what we are feeling. Okay? If we can share our feeling without attributing it to somebody else, there is a chance that will communicate. But if we attribute, even if we acknowledge our feeling, I feel angry because you said da 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 da. So there's these I statements that, we were encouraged to make. I feel blah. And then the second part of it is because you did. That's not an I statement. That's blaming people. Okay. So it's just, to be able to identify actually what we're feeling without making it somebody else's fault. Yeah. And we are so well habituated to putting it on other people. Yeah, why do I feel anxious? Because you know? Okay. Okay, so in addition, when we tell other people what their feelings, motivations, and thoughts are, it usually doesn't go very well. Yeah, like, I feel like you're trying to control me. Or we're going to tell them their feelings. You know, you're feeling helpless, so you're trying to control me. Yeah, that's going to go over real big, isn't it? Especially in that tone of voice. Okay. People generally don't like it when we tell them what they are feeling or thinking, particularly if we do so in a way that blames them for our distress. You're trying to make me miserable. You're so selfish. It's driving me nuts. Oh, how true that one is. You are so selfish and it's driving me nuts. Yeah. So why am I nuts? Why am I unhappy? Because you're so selfish and acting so ridiculously. Okay. Your anxiety is ruining my day. Oy. Oy. How many times have I thought that about other people? It's like, why are you so anxious about nothing? You know, it's really bugging me. That goes over real big when you say that to somebody else, doesn't it? Yeah. Your anxiety is ruining my day. But it's true. It's all their fault. Their anxiety is ruining my day. I'm just little me, just trying to be happy after all. You know, why are you dumping your anxiety on me? You know, keep your anxiety to yourself. Or if you've got to project it on that person. You know, don't tell me. Okay, so it's better to express what we are feeling in non-blaming I statements. That was Russell's sentence. That take the responsibility for our own emotions. Okay, so here I'm feeling really frustrated right now. So that's an I statement that is not blaming the other person. Okay, it's not saying I'm feeling. It's just saying I'm feeling frustrated right now. It's not saying I'm feeling frustrated because I've talked to you about this how many times and you still keep making the same mistake and not listening to me. Okay, so you see the difference between just saying I feel frustrated and then landing the whole situation, creating a whole scene that you're sure the other person is acting out. Or I'm excited about our collaboration. Period. You know? Not, I'm excited about our collaboration because you're so wonderful and you're going to meet all of my needs and agree with all of my opinions. That's not going to work. If we formed hypotheses or are wondering about what might be going on in the other person's mind, it's best to clarify our understanding by asking them. Ask the person who you're having the problem with. Don't ask somebody else to psychoanalyze the person for you. Okay? So you can just say, I'm wondering what you meant by that comment. instead of running off to your friend and, did you know what this person said to me? They're always saying things like that. I think that they're bipolar, or they're, what's the other fun? What? Borderline, that's it. Yeah, they're borderline. Yeah. Or I think, they're just depressed. Yeah. Yeah, we love to psychoanalyze people, don't we? Yeah. We know nothing about what the actual diagnoses are, but it's so lovely to attribute one to someone. Yeah. This person is sitting in the meditation hall, wiggling, moving their robe because it keeps falling down, stretching their arms. I think they have ADHD. Yeah, I'm sure. It wasn't diagnosed when they were a kid. Maybe we'd better get them a diagnosis. Yeah, not because we care about them, but because we can't stand their fidgeting. It's disturbing my samadhi. I feel like your fidgeting is disturbing my samadhi. And you don't care about your fidgeting. Yeah, or my samadhi. Yeah. And the other person says, really? You've actualized samadhi? Please give me some instructions. Well, you think you have samadhi? What's that Zen thing? Somebody was saying there was a flag that was waving and making noise. And
it's not the flag moving, it's your mind moving.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it is difficult for us to identify our emotions because we're too busy judging ourselves for having them. Oh, nobody here does that. Okay. We may think I'm pathetic when we feel anxious or sad, or I'm a terrible parent when we shout at our children. Or what a lousy monastic I am. Yeah, I forgot to do my chores. Kind of forgot. Passing it off like I forgot. Okay, automatically criticizing ourselves can obscure our real feelings and prevent us from understanding what has caused them. Got it? Got it? Why is she pointing out me? She always does that. She doesn't care about me. She's trying to embarrass me. I feel like mad. Okay, so it's good. So in these situations, it's good to pause, try to notice what we are feeling, not thinking, and anchor those feelings to real events. So to see what in your life experience happened that may be agitating you and making you to feel something, not what somebody else did. Okay. I'm feeling angry that my child forgot his homework and anxious about how harshly I reacted to him. Okay, so that's owning the whole thing. Yeah. If our emotions seem to be more than the situation warrants, which they never are they? Our emotions are never more than are warranted. In fact, we usually downplay our emotions, don't we? Yeah. So if our emotions seem to be more than what's warranted by the situation, we can consider if we are thinking in ways that magnify or distort the situation in our minds, producing feelings that are out of proportion to what is happening. Okay, so to stop and ask ourselves, why would I be so angry about this? I think the teacher will blame me for him not getting his homework done, and I'll look like a terrible parent. Okay? So why, the person who's angry, or upset about how they reacted towards their kid, instead of, I'm such a horrible parent, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, what's going on? Johnny forgot his homework. I'm angry. Why am I angry? Well, I'm creating a scene in my mind that the teacher is going to blame me because I'm responsible for my child remembering his homework. And then the teacher not only will blame me, but the teacher will think that I am a terrible parent. And that's the last thing I want the teacher to think, is that I'm a terrible parent. Because inside, I kind of worry if I am. Yeah. Why do I worry about it? Because I don't give myself credit for what I do. And because I think I should be able to control everything about my child, which is impossible. Okay. So I'm thinking the teacher will blame me for him not getting his homework done, and I'll look like a terrible parent. Looks like I'm doing a bit of mind reading here. Sometimes it takes a while before we are able to find words to identify our feelings. It can help to sit quietly and observe our emotional experiences. Mindful awareness, which we discussed in Entry 9, go back to that, can help us slow down and note that our emotions, thoughts, and motivations are separate mental events. Yeah, and so to be able to discern between an emotion, a thought, and a motivation in our own mind. Okay, with practice, we will be able to notice these emotions, thoughts, and motivations more easily and see how they influence one another. How a particular thought gives rise to an emotion, which instigates a motivation, which then influences our behavior. Okay, so how ignorance makes a distorted conception or inappropriate attention arise, how that creates an emotion, and how that emotion becomes part of a motivation for acting. Yeah. We'll be able to identify these as separate but related mental events we can choose to work with and change. Buddhist teachings speak about introspective awareness, which can help us identify our emotions. Introspective awareness involves observing our thoughts and feelings and evaluating their benefit, harm, accuracy, or inaccuracy. For example, we may notice we are angry after a meeting with a colleague. Looking more closely, we may observe that our mind is interpreting an interaction with this person in a negative way. In the meeting, my colleague made a snide remark about the defects of my report. I know that he is out to humiliate me, so the boss will give the upcoming promotion to him instead of me. And we're sure that's what's going on. Okay. Introspective awareness allows us to see that these thoughts contain many interpretations, assumptions, and judgments that may not be valid. Let's go back through that and stop and see what each thing is. In the meeting, okay, my colleague made a snide remark. Yeah, it's evaluating a remark about the defects of my report. Evaluation or assumption about my own report. I'm assuming my report was bad. I know that he is out to humiliate me. What's that? Or mind reading? Mind reading? Okay, I know he is out to humiliate me, so that the boss will give the upcoming promotion to him instead of me. What's that? Yeah. Screenwriting, yeah. Okay. And attributing a motivation to him. I'm mind reading his motivation. Okay. So how would you describe the bare facts of this? If you were to take all that stuff out, what are the bare facts of the situation? Yeah, he made a comment about my report. That's all. Wow, does that feel different to you after you've built this whole anxiety-producing scene? To just say, he made a comment about my report. Without your mind saying, yes, but it was a snide comment and he did it for this reason. Okay. Introspective awareness allows us to see that these thoughts contain many interpretations, assumptions, and judgments that may not be valid. As such, we can remind ourselves not to let these incorrect thoughts fuel our anger, and we can calm ourselves down. Focusing on our breath for a few moments at this time is also helpful. Once we're able to identify our feelings, we'll be better able to take responsibility for our own emotions. So we have to be able to identify our emotions and then take responsibility for them when we're in situations of conflicts. We will not judge or blame the other person or project our own ideas on them, expecting them to make us happy. Okay, and here's the reflection. Yeah, think of a conflict you had with another person. Maybe you only have to think back half an hour. No, an hour since before the talk started. Okay, try to identify what you were feeling. Avoid using words that describe what you think someone did. It can help to use single words, not phrases, that project a motivation onto another person. Acknowledge and accept the emotion you experienced. And then, do you feel different once you've done that? Okay. So, the time's up. We have to stop. But there's a lot to think about here, isn't there? Okay, so you may want to use the book and go over and review it and do some exercises yourself and be real aware, watching the kind of thoughts that that you think are feelings, and see how there's projections and assumptions and mind reading and all that kind of stuff involved in them. Okay. And this, what also was said in the chapter, is like, instead of making the assumptions and so on, talk to the other person. Yeah. What did you mean by that conduct or comment? What are you feeling? What are your aims in this project? Yeah. So asking the other person for information instead of accusing them or assuming that you understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. And not putting it in an email. Yeah. Yeah, emails are very difficult. Yeah. Because you don't have the body language and you don't have the face-to-face relationship. Yeah.